All right. Want to welcome everyone. SPED 805s. Make sure everyone's in the right class, right section. This is only 805 section offered the first 8 weeks of the semester. So it's good to see everyone here. I want to welcome you. I was telling them before early when I first got on, this is a small section. So most of the time we'll have upward 15 students in here. And I think when I last looked at the roster, we were sitting about 8 or 9. So it's a small section. So not a bad thing. So anyway, Dr. Matt Posey, I'll be your instructor. I've been with Fort Hays now about 7 years. Uh, Teach a variety of courses for them. This semester I do the 805, which is a practicum course. It's an 8-week practicum course. And then I've got two sections of 822, which those are practicum courses as well, but they're 16 weeks. So we still have a couple of the practicums that are 16 weeks in this program, but all the other classes are 8 weeks. So a little bit about myself. This is starting year 32 in public education for me, my 32nd year. I'm a school superintendent in Oklahoma. I live about 30 minutes east of Oklahoma City in Shawnee. Is where I reside, and I'm a superintendent of Bethel Schools. We're right on the west edge of Shawnee. So I've been a building principal, superintendent, obviously, for quite some time. Got a background in school psychometry. I contract out for schools or in our area that have trouble accessing psychometrists to do their testing. So ties right in with this course. And so I enjoy it. I just told the class earlier at 6. It's hard to believe I'm starting year 32. Actually, it just seems like I just started. So I know most of you guys are probably newer in education, just starting off. So I will tell you this, hang in there. And I know you may feel right now, after the first week, that you're literally drinking from a fire hose. I understand the first group I had at 6 felt that way. Excuse me. And I will tell you this, you'll learn through discussions and stuff during this course. You may feel isolated and that you're the only one experiencing certain problems with your SPED students, but I can assure you, you're not. It's a widespread problem, and common problems are being observed in special education, not only in Kansas, Oklahoma, but across the country. So don't think it's just isolated to you and your district. So I'm going to go ahead tonight. We're going to just kind of do a broad overview of the course. Excuse me. And I'm going to go over the syllabus and some of the assignments we'll do for the course. So it'll be pretty light tonight. Most of my Zoom sessions, just so you kind of know, we usually go about 45 or 50 minutes. Okay. I know you guys are busy. I know you have things going on, and I don't want to just keep you on here for an hour and a half just to keep you on here. Okay. I like to get in here, get to the point, and value your time and respect that as well. Um, as you well know, this is an 8-week class. When I start going over the assignments and everything, please don't feel overwhelmed and automatically think, oh my gosh, there's no way we can do this. But we can. We do it all the time in an 8-week session. Um, and it's doable. You just have to take 1 week at a time. Okay. We'll just take it 1 week at a time, and we'll work right through it, and you'll do just fine. I want everybody to be successful in here. One way we can do that is if things come up, you're working adults. I get it. I understand things happen. You might actually be a coach, involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. You're trying to balance graduate school with family and keeping up. And I know things happen. And if you're in a SPED room right now, you might have a week where you have 3 or 4 IPs due, and we have an assignment and you're getting behind. And if that happens, email me. Let me know. I'll work with you and give you some extra time. Just give me some advance notice. Don't do it Sunday afternoon at 5, and that assignment's due at midnight. Okay. So just communicate. I'll work with you if you do that. Okay. Assignments are all due on Sunday at midnight. I set them up intentionally like that because, again, if you have a busy week, rough week, it gives you Saturday and Sunday, the weekend, to get caught up if you need it. Okay. So I'm going to do a screen share and go to the course shell. I'm going to kind of go over the syllabus, and then I'll go over the assignments. One thing I want to clarify, this will be the first semester. We reworked the course a little bit over the summer. I redesigned it, and we no longer use a textbook for this course. It always did before, and it was very challenging to get your hands on that textbook, and it's causing a lot of stress. So I talked to Dr. Brooks. It's like, hey, why don't we rework this and rewrite it? And so I spent time this summer doing it. So there's no textbook. Basically, we use open education resources and they're all linked into the syllabus. There's links to go and watch videos and articles that'll tie in with what we're going to be focusing on each week. So you don't have to worry about a book. Everything you need is going to be in the course shell. Also, slide decks will be in there as well with information. So let me do a screen share. We'll go through it and we'll get you to where we need to go. Let me get to, so you should be able to see my screen. I'm in the course shell now. I'm going to go to back to the front. You'll see the syllabus is here. Got it posted. I'm going to kind of open that up, kind of go through it, and then I'll talk a little bit about the assignments. I'm going to scroll down. So I'm gonna go to the schedule, kind of go over week by week, and then as I mentioned, I'll get to the schedule or the assignments. You'll see these hyperlinks here. That's access to the open education resources. Some of them will be, excuse me, videos, different websites that contain articles of some of the information that we focus on. So week one is kind of more focused on assessment laws, ethics, and issues. And so one of the key resources during week one is the Kansas Special Education Handbook. And you can go to there. I've got it linked to where it'll take you to some of the areas that pertains to assessment laws and ethical issues. Chapter one, that should say week one, is parental rights in special education, and it references the Kansas State statutes and regulations. Again, that goes to back to the Kansas State Department of Education website where it specifically talks about that. So go and check those links out because it will give you some information around assessment law. Also, there's a scale for professional ethics and individuals working in the field of special education, and that's an article on ericdoveed.gov. And then IDEA overview and parent rights. There's an article video on that. So check those out. It's all linked right here on this page in your syllabus. Okay. The articles, outside resources. So one of your main tasks this week is to go and pull those articles up, that information, review that, and then also do the introduction on the discussion board. Basically, there's a prompt on there asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe what grade levels, what district you're in, and just so we kind of have an idea a little bit about your background. And in week two, you can see it continues on. There's links to the topics. We're going to get into types of assessment. In this course, you're going to learn about three major assessments. The first one's going to be informal assessments. That could be something as simple as teacher-made assessment. And those assessments are what the name indicates, something that's very informal. Could be some type of instrument that you can informally assess whether a student is grasping the concepts and objectives that you're covering. It could be something as simple as an exit ticket or a checklist. It's very informal, nothing fancy or nothing that's professionally published by testing companies. Okay. So that'll be the first type of assessment. We're going to learn a little bit about how to look at the data. And then when we start doing the reports for each of those assessments, we're going to learn how to interpret the data and then also how to present that in visual representations in like tables, charts, and graphs. So we're going to learn how to write up some reports to share the information we collected and analyzed, and then also how to display some of that data in some graphs, just like we were presenting it to parents. Okay. The very first assignment, and this is a small section. Okay. So there'll only be like three groups with three people in each group. I think we do have nine. It's going to be a group project. I know oftentimes people go, "Oh my gosh, why do I dread them?" I hear that sometimes. We do this intentionally. Okay. Because in special ed, you're going to have to learn to work with groups of people. That's part of your everyday job, right? When you have IEP meetings, you're going to have to learn how to work with regular ed teachers that are serving your students and also service providers, whether it's speech, OT, PT, any of those. You're going to have to learn how to collaborate with them. So that's why we incorporate an interview. We call it the interview project. And so after tonight, we're going to ask you to self-enroll into groups. There'll be three groups you can go on there, and when you hit, it's limited to three. So when group one hits three, it'll lock it out, and you'll have to go down and enroll in another one. And then we're going to provide you a group of questions to guide you to interview a person in your district, Rebecca. It could be a special ed teacher that's seasoned, has some experience. It could be a SPED director. It could be, if you're in a larger district, it could be a school psychologist, someone that's experienced in your district that you could sit down with and go through a list of about 11 or 12 questions just to get some information from them. And then you're going to bring that back and collaborate with your group that you have self-enrolled in, and you're going to compile that information into basically a report, and you'll submit it, and that'll be your group project. Okay, so that's kind of an overview on that, and I'll get into more of the nuts and bolts of that in just a minute, and kind of the easiest way to do that since this is a remote class. Okay, might cut down on some stress to do that. Okay, when I go over it. That's the first thing. So that will be due on actually the dates are off on this. I apologize for that. The dates didn't get corrected. That'll be due not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. Okay, so I will go in and correct those dates. So it's always important to, after tonight, to go ahead and get signed up for a group. And I think I put a deadline on that to get signed up by Sunday night because it never fails. It seems like one or two students won't, and they're in panic mode on Saturday, and it's due Sunday, and they never got into a group. And unfortunately, they don't get the points for it. Okay, it's very important to register and get into the group. So I'll get those dates corrected. I apologize for that, so I didn't catch it. Okay, then after you do the group interview report, while you're working on that, I'll already get into and start going over and presenting information to you on the informal assessment. And you will actually administer those. I'm going to ask you to come up with three informal assessments that you can give to what I call a case study student. So you need to make sure that you have access to a student. Obviously you do, school started, right? So we're back in school. We're just going to ask you to select a student you serve that you can use for these assignments. We'll have to there's a parent permission form in here. We'll have to have them sign it and making sure that they're aware, hey, I would like to use your child for a graduate course. We're learning how to use different assessments. We will never share the student's name. We'll use a pseudonym. We'll never use a real name. So we always try to maintain confidentiality. So you can let the parent know that when you talk to them about it. We'll do an informal assessment, then we'll come up with a report. And also, we'll ask you to do a lesson plan. We have a lesson plan template that gives you the prompts, and then you just put in the information. Okay, it's one that Fort Hayes developed, and it's strictly over the data and information you observed and collected from giving that informal assessment. Okay, and then you'll just do develop a lesson plan with it. Okay. Then you'll see after that you'll have a week off, week 4, and we're talking about norm reference assessments. So you'll actually have a little downtime there, and then we'll have a report due, norm reference assessment report due the 5th week. So I'm kind of give everybody a heads up. The norm reference assessment, most norm reference assessments, you have to have extra credentials or qualifications to administer those. So, if you're in a large district that has a full-time school psych, we would ask you to collaborate with them to where you may be able to observe them administering one or get some data from one that's been administered to complete the assignment. If you're in a small district, they oftentimes don't have a full-time school psychologist or psychometrist. They contract it out. Don't panic. I have an alternate method for you to complete that assignment when we get to it. I have a recording posted in the course shell that shows me administering the WJ4 for a reevaluation. You can watch the video. It's about 35 minutes long. You can watch the video, and then I will provide you the data from the test results, and you can pull my data that I provide you to use to complete that assignment. Okay. So if you're not in a big district where those specific professionals work full time and you don't have access, it's not a deal breaker. We have another method for you to meet the requirements for that assignment. Okay. So that's the second assessment. We have informal, norm reference, and the third assessment you'll learn how to do is what we call a CBM, or curriculum-based measurement report. Oftentimes those are assessments that are directly connected to the specific content or curriculum that you are using in your classroom. Okay. And we're going to give that in the form of a probe, a shortened version of an assessment. And those probes, or assessment, probe is just another term for assessment. The probes, we're going to ask you to administer those approximately a minimum of 4 times. We would like to see you do them 6, but we understand this is an 8-week course. And so you can give it, and I will prompt you and remind you back up in here in like week 6, hey, we need to think about this. Get you a probe and administer it so we can get you 4 to 6 data points. And we're going to learn how to chart and plot those and determine if interventions need to be implemented along the way. And we'll learn how to put that into a table, chart, and graph as if you were going to show it, present it to a parent. Each one of these that you do, the CBM or the norm reference, will have the lesson plan component that goes with them. And that lesson plan will be specifically over the data for that individual assessment you gave. It won't be going back and using data you collected from 2 assessments previously. It'll be just on that example CBM. Okay. After you've given all those, I've scored them, given them back, simply your final assignment for finals week is you're literally going to present the information that you've collected from the informal, from the norm reference, and the CBM as if you were presenting it in a mock IEP. And literally, you're going to record yourself as if you were conducting a meeting. You're going to pretend there's a team there. I know they're not, you know they're not, but we're going to pretend that. And literally, you're going to present the information that you've collected from those assessment reports. So you've already done the work in the previous weeks. You're just going to record yourself presenting it as if you were in an IEP meeting to the parent. And I've got a guideline for you to follow to help kind of keep you on track for that. So really, you've done all the work on the front end, and for the final, you're just going to present it and record yourself. And that's your final assignment. And you'll submit that finals week. So again, it sounds like a lot. It's very doable. We just got to take 1 week at a time on that. Okay. Remember, on the norm reference up here, if you don't have access to those professionals that are qualified to give those exams, I've got an alternate way for you to do it. Okay. Is there any question on those assignments, kind of what we're going to be looking for? Everyone's just like quiet tonight. They're worn out. It's week 1 of school. Students coming back. All right. I'm going to switch. I'm going to kind of go through the shell real quick, show you a couple things. Here's where you'll submit your assignments once you complete them. The group interview, once you register for a group, whether it's group 1, group 2, group 3, there will be one person that submits that. The rest of the group members' names are connected to that, and it will show up under your name in the grade book. Okay, so only one person needs to submit the report. Once you start working on it, I'll just kind of plant the seed tonight to save some stress or panic. Once that final document is submitted, it will be upward of 20 plus pages. I'm not saying the report is that long, but all the documentation that you will include. So Pam, let's say you, Rebecca, and um, another student in the course are in a group. You're each going to conduct your interview and take notes on it. You'll submit those interview questions and notes as part of this assignment. So that's what is part of like the 20 pages. Okay, is the interview questions and answers that each one of you got. Then the rest of it will be the report. The actual report that you will compile is probably 4, maybe 5 pages max. The neat thing or the good thing is for each one of these assignments, I have an example posted in the course shell that you can look at each time that we're doing it to kind of give you an idea how it's laid out. I'm not asking you just to reinvent the wheel here. I've got examples and I'm going to show you where to find those to kind of help guide you on this, especially whether it's a group project or the individual reports. This section is where you're going to submit the assignments. Okay. Actually, my dates are correct here. The interview's due on August 31st. Okay. Also, with that, there will be an individual form that each group member will submit. This individual form, and it's called a peer assessment collaboration rubric. There's about 6 to 8 items on there, Pam, and it's going to ask you to rate your team members on their participation on a scale of 1 to 4. It's a Likert scale. Okay. Your team members don't see that. I'm the only one that sees it. Okay. So you don't have to worry about it being a shared document. Okay. They don't know what you put on there. Rebecca, they won't know what you put on there. You rate based on how you felt like the participation level was on that. Okay. You'll get individual points on that for that collaboration rubric. The group interview, one person submits it. Each one of you will submit the peer assessment. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. Here's where your learning modules are. Module 1 is 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks. I have an example right here of what the group interview paper looks like. So it's there for you guys to look at to see how previous groups did them. You're going to see it's kind of an abstract, shows a little bit about the assignment, group interview project, assessments. So you're going to talk a little bit about what different assessments are used in the district. There is a guided um, set of questions, and so you'll just kind of go down through there and address it in your paper. So we want to find out what types of assessments your individual districts are using, what types are used. Okay. Then the next section will be assessment administration, processes that they have to go through to be able to just test students. We can't just say, hey, I think because little Johnny scored poorly on a math assignment, he needs to be tested for special education. It doesn't work like that. There is a process and procedures put in place. So talk a little bit about what your individual person shared with you. You're going to compile it and put it all into one report. So Pam would share a little bit on here about what she discovered at her school, Rebecca would, and whoever your third member is. The next section, again, you're getting it from the questions, a little bit about legalities, working with families, and diversity. How does that person you interviewed, how do they deal with that in their district? Again, you're reporting on it. And then the conclusion, a little bit about what each of you learned from the interviewee that you talked to, and then reflect on it. Okay, just a little reflection about testing in general and some things that you learned and took from this assignment. Okay, so that's and the example that's provided. It's right there in the course shell for you. Okay. Week 1, it's basically introduction. There's some articles in here. It will also show week 1 PowerPoint. And basically it's on here, kind of show you where it's at. Each week I'll go over these with you, but week 1 I don't because we're basically doing the overview and it's just talking a little bit about laws, litigation with parents. This is a short deck. We encourage you to go back after tonight, but from this point on, each meeting we do, I will focus on these slide decks because it will have a lot of information that week 1 really doesn't, other than just some basic um, law information on special ed. And where it started and how it came into inception with Public Law 94-142 all the way back in 1975 is when it all started. Okay, so it just talks about how IDEA come about. Okay, so you can find that in the slide deck under Module 1. Okay, so there's all kinds of resources there for you. One other thing I wanted to point out, it's going to be a kind of a go-to for you in this course. I'm going to scroll down to where I get to it. 805 resources folder. In this folder, you will find all your documents in here, still showing in hidden mode. All the documents that you will need for the assignments are going to be in here. You can see there's the video for the norm reference. This one here has all the examples. So I have an example for each assignment, an example of a norm reference, informal, and a CBM. Okay, so each week when you get ready to start working on it, and I will reference it each week and pull it up and show you, it shows one that's been done and how it's laid out. Okay, so when we're in week 2 or week 3, whenever that assignment's coming up, I will pop that specific example up and show you. Example of a bell curve, it is an editable Google form that you can put your information in for the norm reference because we ask you to do insert a bell curve because we're doing a comparison of how your case study student compared to students in the norm group, and we do that using a bell curve. Lesson plan template that goes with your assignments is found here. It's an editable Word document. Parent permission form, this is what you will have signed by the parent before you administer the informal assessment. We would ask that it works out better for you, but it's not a deal breaker if you have to use more than one student. It works to your advantage if you can use the same student on all 3 assessments. Okay, just helps you become better familiar with the student and you can see some consistency in growth and consistency among the data in assignments. But if you can't use the same one on each one of them, it's not going to be a deal breaker. Here is the individual document for the collaboration rubric that you will fill out individually for the interview assignment. Okay, once you complete that group interview. Each week, I'll do Zoom on Wednesdays at 7 for this group. I mentioned I know you guys are working adults. You're being pulled multiple directions, and you might not be able to make each one of them in a live Zoom session, and that's fine. They'll be recorded. You get participation points each week. One way to get them is attending Zoom live. If you do, you automatically get points. Okay. I will ask you each week, and I'll ask you before you get off here to make sure in the chat box that you put your name, and it will record it, and then I'll pull it off the recording, and I give you your points. So if you attend the Zoom session live with me on Wednesday nights at 7, you automatically get points added. Each week, you get, I believe it's 18.75 points. So over the 8 weeks, it adds up to 100. If you either don't attend Zoom or you choose not to do the participation activity, so I will pose 2 questions. You can review the Zoom recording and answer the questions if you don't attend it live to get your points. If you don't do either or and you simply just don't participate either way, the way it's set up, the highest grade you can get is a B. Okay? The highest grade you can make in this course is a B if you don't participate, period, at all. Okay, so there's 2 options. You can hop on live on Zoom, Wednesdays at 7, automatically get your points. If you have something come up, I always record. After class is over, I will upload it and I will send out a recording link via Blackboard Messenger, and it will also go to your Fort Hays email. That link will, and you can review the video and then hop on. It'll say week 1 participation points, and it'll have the 2 questions or information we covered in Zoom that night. Okay, either or is fine. Okay. But remember, if you don't do either of the two, the highest you can get in the course is a B. Okay. So always point that out. You can learn a lot from participating on the Zooms. It's a lot of times when you can collaborate with peers, things come out. You might be experiencing a challenge or a problem in your class, and someone else had experience with that. And they can share, hey, this is what I did, and it really worked. And you can take that idea and implement it back in your classroom, help you out. So it's a great way to learn and collaborate, great way to network. Okay, here's an example you'll see. You can see it'll say like week 1 or week 5, week 6. Okay, and I will keep those hidden until that particular week. Okay, so you won't see all the questions that are posted in there ahead of schedule. Okay, they'll appear the week that we're on, whether it's week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever it may be. Is there any questions so far over that? I know it's probably a lot of information, but if not, I want to circle back to quickly. I'm going to undo my screen share if I can. If I can get off of it. Um, Before we get off, make sure you guys in the chat box type your name in there if you were live. But I want to circle back around while you're doing that to the group interview. A couple of suggestions I want to make to you to help maybe be less stressful. Being a remote online course instead of an in-person, one way that you can do this group assignment and collaborate with each other is once you self-enroll into a group, find out who your group mates are, and there is a messenger on Blackboard. You can send messages to other students or you can message me. Reach out to your group members and connect that way. I always strongly encourage that while you're working on that group interview, that maybe you set up a Google Meets or a Zoom just to touch base, talk through some things. Also, as you're starting to compile your report, I always encourage the group to set up a shared Google Doc because, Pam, you might be an early morning person. You function and work on homework from 5 to 7 in the morning. You're shaking your head, go, no, not me. I'm not. You might be. Rebecca, you might be a night owl. You might function best from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. As students do that. So you can actively contribute to your group if you have a shared Google Doc because you can access it at any time, your peak time to put your information in, right? So I always say that's one way you can do it, being in a online course and still collaborate effectively. And then if you need to, you can hop on a Zoom and do a Zoom touch base for 15, 20 minutes, talk through a couple things and hop off and go right to work. So that's one way I always suggest and recommend that group members communicate. If you get started on this and you have an individual that's signed up to be in your group and you've reached out and started working on it and they're not actively participating, please send me an email and let me know so I can get in touch with them and nudge them. It never fails. I'll have one or two that don't sign up, and all of a sudden on Saturday, before that's due on Sunday, they're in panic mode because they mysteriously missed the announcement talking about it tonight. It'll be a question on the participation points for those that have to go on and do that about how important it is to sign up. I want to encourage you to do that after tonight gets started because that thing will creep up on you in a hurry. Okay, it's due the 31st, but you need to figure out who am I going to interview and then set up a time to talk to them. If you can't arrange a time to talk to them in person, email them the questions. Say, hey, would you mind taking 15, 20 minutes and answer these questions for me? Or if you need to hop on a Zoom with them to connect, you can do that. Any way to connect. You can email it to them. You can talk to them face to face, or you can get on Zoom with them. Okay. Whatever method you need. I'm going to jump back real quick and show you where those questions are, the interview questions. But going back to something, I just kind of stopped. on your group member that maybe is not participating, I will nudge them, and if they don't, I will tell your group move on. They won't get points for it. Okay. And then sad reality is this group project's a requirement for this course. So the following semester, when I have them again in 805, they'll participate. Okay. So please sign up, guys. It's important to do that and participate with the group. After that, the rest of it's all individual. All right. I'm going to go back. The guiding questions are in the course syllabus. Let me get back to it and I'll show you exactly what page in the syllabus they're on. It will be on down. Let me get to it here. They will start on the bottom of page 8 in the syllabus. There are black bullet points and they roll over onto the top part of page 9. So here are the questions for your interviewee. Ask them what tests are used in the district and why. Why certain tests are used. Certain districts may prefer specific assessments. I'll give you an example. In our district, we use the WJ4, the WIS5, and there are a couple other ones that we primarily use for formalized assessments. Pam, your district, they may prefer specific assessments. If they contract out to a school psych because they're small, then they're dependent on what instruments the school psychometrist or school psychologist uses. Larger districts tend to buy their own because they have their own people. They have specific assessments. So ask them what assessments are preferred and used. How often or when are they used? Okay. How often or when are they used? The next question is who can administer formal and informal assessments in the district? Informal, you don't have to have any uh, advanced certifications or qualifications. For a formalized test, you do. You have to have qualifications as a school psychometrist or psychologist. So ask them a little bit about that. Does the person administering them need any special training? The next question is ask if informal tests are used, and if so, when and why are they used? If they are not used, ask why. Informals are often the very beginning stage to start collecting data if a teacher in the regular classroom setting suspects there might be some um, learning deficiencies, learning gaps. And so they'll start doing those to just kind of start collecting information before they even come to you as a SPED teacher and say, hey, I think Johnny may have a learning disability. The next question is the various assessments that are used in special education and why. Okay. Then ask them the difference between formal and informal assessments and ask them if they can give you some examples. The next thing you're going to ask them is what are the specific steps in the assessment process for our district? Again, some regular ed teacher can't just come to you and say, "Little Johnny flunked his spelling test this week. He needs to be tested for special ed." It's not how it works. Okay. Your district may also have some additional steps, such as um, a certain amount of time of intervention services first before they get into being tested. So they may require them to go through MTSS or RTI for a specific period of time before they even entertain the thought of recommending testing or doing a consent. Ask that person the sections of IDA that addresses assessment. What are the specific sections of IDA law that addresses assessment? Ask them what the role of the family is in the assessment process. Well, they definitely need to be involved. Some families are more involved than others. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth trying to get the families to an IEP meeting. Maybe like pulling teeth trying to get them to sign consent. But just ask them what their expectations are for the role of the family in the assessment process. What methods of assessment for students who speak other languages? You may not have a lot of that in your district. It might be primarily Caucasian English speaking students. You might be in a district where you have a diversity of students that multiple languages are represented in your districts. Okay. Here where I'm at, we have Spanish speaking, and we also have had an influx of Mandarin Chinese speaking students, believe it or not. Okay. So that was a challenge for us. And so when it comes up time, if they have to be assessed, we have to find interpreters. Okay. So you might ask your interviewee if they've encountered that and how they deal with it. Any technological considerations when administering tests? Okay, or is there any technology that's incorporated? Sometimes now with our assessments that we do, the formalized, they're going to more online based versus the paper copy and the testing manuals I come in with, like the WJ4. It's in the process of shifting over to become all digital. I'll walk in with an iPad, everything's in right there, and I use that. They're getting away from the testing protocol manuals. Okay. So a lot of changes are occurring there on the assessment side with us as examiners. The last thing is any evaluative comments or remarks that that person might want to share based on his or her experiences with test and also being in special education. The neat thing about this group project, guys, is when I start looking at them and just within your group, you'll see a wide range of experience. It's not common for one particular group to have someone that's got 3 years in that role and then another person in the group that interviewed someone that's approaching their 40th year. That's not uncommon. So it's real interesting to see once you compile that into one report, the wide range of experience. So it's really good just working within your group when you get to hear and see some of the feedback that was provided and just the wealth of knowledge that those people have. And that comes from experience. Okay. So those of you that are first getting into it, just think one of these days you'll have that much experience. Okay. Where you can share it. So that's just kind of, those are where you get your guiding interview questions. So tonight, challenge you to or encourage you. Get on the discussion board, introduce yourself, tell a bit about your background. Also, tonight, start seeking out group members. Really encourage you to have that done by Sunday evening because this is the beginning of the year. You guys are swamped. I know that. It's overwhelming at the beginning of the year. And here you're in a graduate class and you got this going on. So manage your time and maximize your time. Don't procrastinate because it will slip up on you. Okay. And I don't want to see you guys stress and struggle. I want each one of you to be successful. So please do that and don't let it get away from you on that group project. Okay. Here, remember page 8 on the syllabus at the bottom. It starts and it carries over to the top of page 9. All right. Remember, always record these. If you can't make it, you have an option to get your points by going to like week 1 participation, week 2. I always have 2 questions on there and it's over things that I've covered in that Zoom recording. Okay. I'm not trying to stump you, or trick you or anything like that. It'll be exactly over something I covered in that Zoom recording that you watch. All right. Emails. I'm an early morning guy. I check emails twice a day. I check them from 5:30 to 7:30 a.m. I'm an early morning guy. And then I also check them from after 5 o'clock p.m. in the evening, start in the evening. So if you email me, I'm sorry, if you email, I'm getting tongue-tied, if you email me in the middle of the day after that 7:30 a.m., just know I will respond to you when I start checking them after 5 p.m. If you email me, Rebecca, if you're a night owl, and you email me in the middle of the night at midnight, and you're working on an assignment and you have a question, just know I'll see it early in the morning and I'll respond to you. Okay? So I check them twice a day. I understand that you guys are working adults and you're trying to balance all this. You may have little ones at home, and you may have kiddos that are participating activities and you're trying to be a parent, you're working, you're new in special ed, and you're trying to balance graduate studies. If you something comes up and you get behind and you need some extra time, please email me, communicate with me. I will work with you. Just don't wait till the last minute on Sunday and send me an email. Okay? I want you to do well and I want you to be successful and I will work with you, but just communicate. Just don't go AWOL on me. All right? Again, 1 week at a time. I know this sounds like a lot. It's very doable. Just take it 1 week at a time and we'll work right through it. All right. Again, tonight was more of an overview. Moving forward each week, I will focus on those slide decks because they have a lot of good information and just look at those links to the open education resources that I showed you for each week in that syllabus. Just kind of review that information and we'll go from there and work right through the course. Before you know it, we'll be coming up on week 8. And when we start week 8, I'll say, hey, remember, it just seems like last week we were on week 1, and I said we'll be on week 8 before you know it. So it moves fast. Okay. Is there any questions? I know I covered a lot. Any questions? Explore that course
Um,
shell. I will go back and get those dates corrected on that one part of the syllabus that I identified that I overlooked. I'll make sure I get those corrected and updated tonight for you. So I think I cut someone off or talked over them that had a question. Go ahead.
it's okay. So we should go to the message board and create our groups there, and then do we need to
You can
email you and tell you
communicate.
who's in there?
No, so you can self-enroll. So try to communicate, or you can just automatically go and self-enroll yourself if you want. It's always good if you can kind of look at that discussion board or that messenger board. So messages, you can go on there and message someone. I mean, it'll show you create new message right over here. I just hit the button and it shows you all the students. It show Dr. Brooks and I as instructors, but Dr. Brooks is basically over the program. But it shows Rebecca Anderson, Pamela, everybody. You can go in there and just email 2 of them, or you can email one, say, hey, would you be interested in being in our group? You can do that, message them. Then you can go when you self enroll, you go up here, you'll see a tab. Does everyone see my mouse cursor? I'm hovering over it where it says groups on my screen share. Can everyone see that? You have these tabs at the top. It's going to be the last one that says groups. You can click on it and it will I will go in there and put the group on there. It'll say group 1, 2, and 3, and it'll say self-enroll. And matter of fact, I'll just do it now. It's going to show all of them in here. I'm going to make that visible. So, and then I'm going to put custom. It's going to say self-enroll, and I'm going to start it tonight, the 20th, and I'm going to start it at 8 o'clock. Oh, went back, started at 8, and I'm gonna have it end Sunday. So you need to be enrolled by Sunday. It's not giving me what I want. What's Sunday, the 24th, isn't it? Yep. Okay. Be 3 members per group, and it'll say group 1, group 2, group 3. You can literally go down and click on group 1 and register yourself. Okay. So that's where you'll do it at. Any questions on
All
that?
right, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Pretty easy to do. And once that group hits its 3rd member, it will basically close that group and it'll force you to go down to another one. All right. So, any questions on that? It's up here at the group tab. You'll go down and hit new group and go down and select one. Say, I want to register for group 1. Okay. So, you'll see it actually looks like 2 fours have 8. So, we may have a group of 3, a group of 3, and a group of 2. Okay, this is a small section. I mentioned at the very beginning of class. Normally we run 15. All right. So 3 groups with a cap of 3. All right. Please enroll in those, see who's in your group, start communicating with them. Okay. You might honestly think about the suggestions I made about setting up a Google Doc, shared doc. We can put information in there, or also maybe doing a Zoom touch base just to kind of talk through a couple things. Remember on page 8 and 9 is where your guiding questions are for that interview. All right. I will revisit that next week. If you see, um, once the groups are formed and you're reaching out, if one of those group members not responding, guys, let me know so I can personally email them. All right. Any other questions before we go? Again, like I said, I just kind of wanted to spend some time overviewing, and then next week we'll start diving into it. Any questions on that before we go tonight? Everybody all right? Feel comfortable with that? Okay. Did everybody sign in tonight in the chat box? Okay. So after I do the download and all that, I'll look in the chat. It gives me a file, it shows everybody signed in, and I'll go in and I'll log your points in the grade book automatically for you. For those that access the recording, they'll answer the questions, submit it, and then I'll receive it that way. All right. So you guys tonight, you don't have to worry about doing any questions. I'll put your points in for you. So you're good. All right. If you have any questions or think of something after we get off of here, just shoot me an email if you think of a specific question. All right. Bo, I saw that link, so no problem. No worries on that. All right. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you have a good week and a good start to next week. And I will see you next week on Wednesday. If you have something come up between then, shoot me an email. All right. All right. Thank you guys. See you.